That was Trip by LMA. You are listening to Inside Out Busan here on a Friday evening, BeFM 90.5 and 103.3. I'm your host, Mike, and we've got a very special open studio for you today. We are going to be saying hello to Lou, Lisa, as well as Gwangeun and see what they are all about today. Good evening, you three. How are you today?
Doing great.
Well. Great.
Hi, nice to meet you. Thank you so much for coming in today. I met you outside, and it was a pleasure to meet you all. But could you introduce yourselves to Radioland?
Yeah, sure thing. So my name is Lou Gallo, originally from America, New York.
I'm Lisa Gallo, and Lou's wife of 40 years.
My name is Gwangeun Jo, and I was graduate from Jung Daehyun School.
Mm-hmm. All right, so you just graduated?
Yes, and I'm a freshman of college.
Excellent. All right. Well, congratulations. And how are you enjoying college life so far?
It's really exciting because you are learning so many new things and meeting new people.
That's right. It's quite different than high school, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. That's right. And you two, Lou and Lisa, you're from New York. I spent several years in New York. Whereabouts are you from in New York?
So we're from Long Island.
Oh, okay.
Born in Brooklyn, but grew up on Long Island.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I went to Long Island a couple of times. It's a nice place to live, nice place to grow up, I think.
Yeah, that's great.
It'd be good. Could you tell us all about what you do and why you're here today?
Sure.
Okay.
Me?
Yeah,
Okay. So, back in 2015, we came on a exploratory trip to visit a alternative school for North Korean refugee kids. We had been introduced to our first refugee back in America, and actually had gone to a meeting and heard the stories of 3 different North Korean defectors. And for some reason, their stories and the plight of North Korea just gripped our hearts in a way that we just knew we had to do something. And it was one of those things where we certainly didn't see ourselves moving to Korea or doing anything like crazy like that, but one thing led to another, and we did an exploratory trip in 2014. Actually came to the school where Gwangeun had just arrived himself. He had only been in Korea for 2 months at that point. And did an exploratory trip, fell in love with the kids, fell in love with the school, and radically picked up our lives and moved here with our youngest daughter. And we thought we'd be here for a year, and that was almost 5 years ago. So.
Oh yeah, I know.
You know
how
that
is.
Story.
I say I'm in year 7 of my 1-year stay.
Right.
In Korea. So how are you three? I suppose related, for lack of a better term. I mean, are you both teacher, student? How?
Right. So we went to Gwangeun School in February of 2015, and we began teaching there. And as a matter of fact, we have a special bond with Gwangeun because when he got to the school, he couldn't speak Korean, but he could speak English. And so we were able to connect with him pretty quickly because of his language. And then we started teaching English in the school to about 22 students, North Korean Chinese, and a couple of South Korean students in the school.
Well, that's a great segue for me to ask Gwangeun his story. What's your story? I heard that you came to Korea in when you were 15. Is that right?
16.
16. All right. So where were you originally from?
My mom is a North Korean refugee, and I was born in China.
Okay.
And then after my mom came to South Korea, and then I followed her to came here. That's the background of me.
Oh, okay. All right. So you couldn't speak Korean when you first came here?
Yes, because I was grown up in China, and the school was really Chinese style, so I didn't know any Korean before I came here.
Sure.
So the first time I came to Korea, the only three words I can speak is the 안녕하세요, that means hello, and 죄송합니다, that means sorry, and 감사합니다, thank you.
Yeah.
That's the only.
Those were the first 3 words I learned when I first came here too. I said, especially I look for how do I apologize in a foreign language. How's your Korean now?
It's okay.
Yeah.
Studying in college.
Oh, good. Good. Excellent.
No problem now.
Good. Glad to hear it. So, I mean, that's just an amazing story from all three of you. Could you two tell us a little bit about the students that you teach, some of the struggles that they face?
Yeah, okay.
Well, you know, one of the things that struck us the most when we first arrived here was, you have to understand, for many North Korean refugee kids, they've been told from a very young age that America is their enemy. Mm-hmm. And if you ever meet an American, they will kill you or, you know, take out your liver. And we've actually seen photos of elementary school classrooms where the coloring pages of the young children are that of American soldiers with a boot on their head or a gun to their head. And that's what they are taught from very early age. So, to be honest, when we met some of the kids for the first time, we could tell they were literally afraid to look us in the eyes to approach us. And, you know, love never fails, and over time, you know, that has changed. But that was one of the things that struck me. Another thing was, and just trying to get to know the kids, trying to draw them out about, you know, what are your dreams? What are your hopes? They could not come up with dreams. Their biggest dream was to sit around a table with their family members and have a meal together. Mm-hmm. And that was about as high as they could imagine.
Wow.
And so to watch the transformation over these 4.5 years of these kids now going on to university, you know, picking majors, you know, having dream. We have one student that's in Seoul University studying law.
Cool.
And she had only maybe 3 years of school in North Korea. So they are some of the hardest working kids that I have ever encountered. I mean, where do you find middle and high school kids who thank you when you give them homework? I mean, that wasn't my experience teaching in America. So
right.
They really are amazing kids, hard workers, but, you know, they have a lot of scars. Their stories they could each, you know, be a movie. And I'm so proud of them and so honored to really be their teacher.
Well, one of the questions I had was, what age groups do you teach? Do you only teach sort of high school, or do you teach anyone younger?
So the schools that we're involved in, and we have an after-school program also, is middle school and high school. Mm-hmm. And so primarily that's the age group that we focus on. And so we figure that's a great age to be learning English, and then also life skills and thinking about their future. It's just a perfect age to influence them. And so that, for the past almost 5 years, that's where we've been working in that age group.
Well, that must be very encouraging to know that regardless of whatever their history is or was, that it's not too late, so to speak.
No.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
It's not too late, and we find that these kids are just really looking forward. Mm-hmm. They're not dwelling on the past.
Yeah.
They're not victims. They could be victims, and have a victim mentality, self-pity, but they really are very forward-thinking and hard workers.
Yes.
Right. Do any of them ever sort of, have you ever noticed anyone sort of worrying about, like, I don't know, someone from my past is going to come get me or something like that? Is that something they ever think about from what you've seen?
I think more the concern is that for some of them that still have family back in North Korea, they're just very careful about social media, putting their faces out there, because if they ever got connected back to those families, I'm sure you've heard, up to 3 generations of your family gets punished for you having left. So it would be more around that I would hear conversation, not so much about being worried, looking over their shoulder kind of thing. Yeah, but
all right.
They do carry a burden for their family members, and many of them are just heartbroken that they can't be, reunited with their whole family.
Yeah, I can imagine. Gwangeun, what was the most difficult thing when you were adjusting to life in South Korea, from China as a teenager to coming to Korea at 16?
So the first is language, because like in my case, I didn't know any Korean when I first came here. So you even can't buy some eat, or you even can't go out because you know nothing about this country. And then is the culture, because the Chinese culture and the Chinese or the North Korean culture are really different from South Korea. So it takes time to understand this country, this culture, and this language. Mm-hmm. That's really tough to us.
Yeah. Do you ever, I suppose, what do you consider home at this point? Like, do you still consider China home? Do you ever get homesick, or do you sort of just look forward from here?
Well, when I was living in China, I don't have exactly home.
Okay.
Because my mom is North Korean, so we were hiding everywhere from the Chinese place.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I don't have homesick exactly.
Okay.
But I really miss my families because they were in South. One day they can be called from the place.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure. What was it like having American teachers teaching you?
Well, at first it's really scared because I had never seen any Americans before, and I was really nervous. And you don't know how to deal with them because the culture, the language were so different. But they were so kind to us, teaching us about American culture and the language.
Mm-hmm.
They were amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, so it sounds like it was a very good experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many students are at the Jung Daehyun school? How much does it grow?
So it's limited by it's a boarding school, so it's limited by the building that they now have, and so presently we're down to actually 19 students. Mm-hmm. At one time, I think the highest it ever was 23.
23.
Yeah.
23.
Yeah. But they, because it's an alternative school, they really can cater to the individual. The kids come in at such different levels. Some, can't speak Korean at all. Some speak Korean but don't speak English at all. And so they're adapting. Some kids had no school in North Korea. Some kids had some schooling. So they can adapt the program in a very individual way to each student. And so that really helps them to just grow and flourish under that environment. So they are, limited by the building, but I think in a way it's kind of a mixed blessing because the kids get more individual attention that way.
Oh, sure.
But we need more of these kind of schools because they're so important.
Yeah. Would you like to see a larger building? Or
yes.
Yes?
Yeah.
Because I imagine
there is a waiting list, and a lot of kids want to get in that we're not able to accept because of that.
Right. So
restriction.
Definitely, you could theoretically welcome many more.
Yes.
The schools in Seoul are much bigger, so we work with some schools in Seoul, and there are 90 students, or another school has 70 students that we work with.
Right.
What are some other programs that the missions is involved in?
So, as I'm mentioning, these other schools, so we help place native English-speaking teachers who want to have a heart for working with North Korean refugees. So we're a sending organization from America, so we can sponsor their visas. Also, we have this America trip program that we do, and so Gwangeun is part of 3 students that are going to be going with us to America on January 20th.
Oh, cool.
And so we'll visit Washington, D.C., we'll go to New York City, we'll take them out to Long Island.
Nice.
Yeah, and so it's a wonderful way to expose them to America. We tell them, you're free now, and part of being free means you can make your own opinion. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be forced to have an opinion. But in order to make an opinion, you need information.
Yeah.
And so we want to provide you with first-hand information, and so help them to learn how to develop a worldview, and a global worldview.
Right.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's a wonderful idea. We're unfortunately running out of time, but I do have one more question I would like to ask. This is for all 3 of you. How can we support, or what can we do to support North Koreans living in the South?
What would you say, Gwangeun?
So still there are many students like me here in Korea, and not many Koreans or Americans, not many people know our stories.
Yes.
And I think we want to tell more people about us, about our histories, our stories. Let them know this is North Korean, this is North Korean refugees, and how we spend time here in South Korea.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah, I think, I would just really encourage people, if you feel any kind of a, burden to get to know North Koreans. I mean, there's many opportunities through our NGO, actually, NK Missions, where you can volunteer. But also, if you meet a North Korean, get to know them, move towards them. Some of them, sadly, live in South Korea and kind of try to hide their identity because they've been ostracized for being North Korean, and they've picked up on, kind of being shunned, so they kind of live with this fake identity.
Right.
But, I have met so many adult South Koreans who say, I've never met a North Korean, and I say, well, you might have, So if you ever happen to meet them, but is there anything else you would say?
I mean, I would say that they are amazing people to meet. Their stories are incredible. They're people that are worth knowing and moving towards, like Lisa said. And I think then just supporting any NGOs that are involved or organizations that are involved.
Excellent. Yeah. Thank you so much, Lou, Lisa, and Gwangeun for being on our program today. It was wonderful to meet you and to talk to you about a very important cause. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a wonderful weekend, all right?
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.